And we are live. Hi, guys. I am Heather with Real Talk. I'm here for all your tech and automation needs. And this is Andres.
Uh, your creative strategies who also believe in perspective can change the game.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Alexi Bracey she is a resilient mentor and cancer victor who healed naturally from cancer by addressing the mind, body, and spirit. She now empowers women facing cancer to build emotional strength, release fear, and heal from the inside out. Her message is resilience and mindset are the true foundations of recovery and lasting wellness. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
So let's jump right in, guys. We are live streaming today. Make sure you follow us on all our channels so you don't miss a single thing because it's a really cool message today. So let's jump in and kind of start off with a little bit about you and how you came to do what you're doing.
Well, I was diagnosed more than 25 years ago with cancer. And when I got that phone call, I remember that so vividly. I knew I was going to beat it, but I had no idea how. And I just said thank you when the diagnosis was told to me. And I hung up the phone. And so I started my quest in looking into what causes cancer, how to maintain wellness, and I learned about all the different modalities that cause cancer, from your diet to toxins to your mindset. Mindset was my big focus, and I made some lifestyle changes from the inside out, focusing primarily on my mind, my mindset. And without medical intervention, I was cancer free in a year's time. So it was really the resilience that catapulted me to move forward as I was making these changes. And so over the years, I've helped many on their journey. And then an unfortunate accident ended my chef career, which again um, impacted me financially. And so I moved 6 times in 1 year, being homeless. And again, resilience came into play where, from one place to another place to another place, I needed those tools, that wherewithal to keep going and knowing that there was a better end in store for me, and just being grateful that I had the wherewithal, the mindset, the resilient skills to keep going. And I incorporated some joy into the equation, because you can't be serious all the time, and we need a little bit to lighten us up to increase the frequency of the body, and promoting joy or kindness or gratitude, not just to others, but remember yourself too. Be grateful for all you've gone through, and all those you have impacted. Show random acts of kindness to people, whether it's a smile or a hug or a compliment. So resilience mixed with a little bit of joy and laughter is where it's all about. That's where I'm coming from.
That's an incredible, incredible message, and uh, so much power in that story. And before we dive into your stories and more details, specifically, what are two things that you want the audience to take away from today's conversation?
Resilience isn't about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. It's about being grateful for the lessons that are thrown your way, because there's always a nugget to be gleaned of positivity, some changes you need to make in your life, things you can do to inspire other people, and just know that there is a better way, there's a newer way, and be an inspiration to other people. That's really a big thing. You're not just doing it for the sake of yourself, but along the way, you know, get people to follow you, to listen to your story, to be inspired by how you did it, and you just kept on going. And you know, just the motivation, the drive, the visualizations, the belief that you can really do it. Give yourself a self hug every day, because you deserve it. We don't all live with other people where we can get hugs. So a self hug, looking in the mirror, telling yourself you're healthy, whole, and complete, and just really believe those words.
That's amazing. I want
That
to touch on one thing you said. You said that you were on the phone. They told you that you had cancer. You said thank you, and you hung up the phone. And I know it's probably a hard place to go back to, but can you take us back to that moment when you heard that you hung up the phone? What were you thinking in that moment? And is that the exact moment that this journey began, or was there maybe a moment in between there where there are a lot of like doubt and suffering before the whole self journey started? How did that happen?
No, it just happened that when I got that phone call, it was really right at that moment that I knew I was going to beat it. It was that just thought that popped into my head. I didn't know how, but there was no doubt in my mind I was going to do it. Like I just, I knew nothing about cancer or diet or toxins or, what makes the body healthy or not healthy. I was totally green in that area. And I just knew it was just that innate feeling that I'm going to do it. You know, come hell or high water, I'm doing it. There was no doubt in my
It's
mind.
it's such a powerful thing, because I always say, we are oftentimes our biggest obstacle, right? We put all these ideas into our head, or objections, or why we don't want to do something. Um, but from that point on, you knew exactly you were getting over
Oh,
that.
we lost her. Hang on, let me.
Uh,
You're
uh,
back. It is Restream. We are having some Restream issues, I think, because we lost you for a second, but you are back.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andres, go
uh,
ahead with what you were saying.
and I would say we're always often our biggest obstacle. Uh, but you receiving that call at that moment, you were completely the opposite. You knew you were getting over it. You knew you were going to conquer that, whatever was throwing on your in front of you. And that's a powerful thing. That mindset, it's an incredible way of looking at things. And look at you now, 20 plus year later, you're still pushing that mindset forward, right?
Right.
It's
So walk us through the what made you decide to do an alternative route as opposed to doing the medical treatment with chemo and all of that. What made you decide to take this alternative route instead?
Well, many years prior to this, I was a lab technologist. I worked in a hospital, so I knew how to read lab tests, and I knew the protocol and what was going on in hospitals, in regards to treatment, surgery, whatever. And I was just not prepared to do anything invasive. I treat my body as a sanctuary, and allopathic medicine has its place for sure, but I was only open to doing the holistic route, which was not toxic or invasive to my body and didn't have the negative repercussions that chemo or radiation do.
Gotcha. Did you have something, Andres? I didn't want to cut you off.
no, it just that and I'm glad you took that approach, right? With all the medical options that there are there that they try to push on nowadays, you decided to go that route. How would you? What was your mindset afterwards when you started the process, and you stay consistent on that?
I never doubted
What got you?
I never doubted myself. I knew this is what I was going to do, and nothing was going to stop me. I had moved recently from the middle of Canada to the West Coast, which were and still are a little bit more progressive, not just Canada, but the West Coast of North America, more progressive in so many different modalities. And the raw food movement had just started, and it was a really hot item, so to speak. And I was a traditional chef, and so I just took off the traditional chef hat and put one on of raw food, and that was my first step, incorporating living, vibrant food into my body rather than cooked, processed, or toxic. And then a friend of mine introduced me to a site called EWG, Environmental Working Group, where I learned about all the toxins in our food, in our environment, in our homes, and cleaning products, toiletries, et cetera, et cetera. And so I got rid of all those. I didn't wear makeup for 2 years because the makeup that you buy at the regular store is loaded with microplastics and all sorts of other toxic materials. Um, I knew about Marianne Williamson, and I embarked on her program. And I invited a group of women that I had just met for an afternoon of meditation and visualizations on a book based Return to Love. And we all visualized myself being healthy and cancer free and thriving and surviving. And so those are the three main areas that I really focused on. It was, the mental and the physical, and of course the emotional with my resilience and a positive mindset. So it was a number of things. It wasn't just one thing per se.
Was there any moments of doubt? Like, I mean, that would be totally understandable with like everything that you're going through. You never had any moments where you're
No,
like,
no,
this isn't
never.
going to happen for me?
Never. And I went for a repeat check up a year later, and if the results were still the same, I was going to keep on going what I was doing. I was not going to give up. I had that strong
Amazing.
commitment, that strong faith that I was going to do it.
That's what we need, right? I know you mentioned resilience is your superpower, right? What does that mean to you personally, and what does that look like in practice?
Well, resilience is the wherewithal, the know-how, the drive, the commitment that I'm going to do it. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to find a way. Um, and people need tools in that capacity because maybe they've always had somebody that bailed them out, or always treated them like they were inferior or just a child and they didn't know what they were doing. But through my life, through the challenges I've been thrown, I've been I just knew this resilience, this bounce back, this drive that I was going to do it. I was going to find a way. And people need to be taught that because we've been spoon fed so much of our life, and told, oh, we'll do it this way and this way, 'cause the easy way. But we don't know when we're really faced with some kind of challenge or drama, what we can do. And so, part of it could be mindfulness, it could be praying, it could be visualizations, it could reading books inspired by authors who have gone on their journey, and resilience sort of got them through it. Finding meaning, that there is another purpose in my life, um, and I'm meant to share that through my journey. I didn't know that at the beginning, but definitely I understand that now. Like, for example, Christopher Reeve said the happiest 3 months of his life were his last 3 months because of his spinal cord injury research. He was able to impact so many people's lives. So,
Yeah,
he was resilient enough to bounce back. And then again, the woman that lost her daughter to drunk driving, with all due respect, through her pain, she found purpose to start the MAD um, uh, concept, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So, like I said, in the midst of any challenge that you're given, there's also a gift for you to find. And so for me, it was my cancer diagnosis that I found the gift that I had to not not just through my resilience, but changing people's lifestyles, different habits and all that. So it was a gift, and I've been able to inspire and help so many people. And then through my homelessness, bouncing back, because a lot of people have experienced homelessness, especially since the pandemic. And how do people bounce back? They don't have the skills, they don't know how, because they've always been fortunate enough to have the funds and the wherewithal um, to do it on their own. But we need community, we need help, we need inspiration. And like I said, prayer helps a lot, visualizations, meditations, feeling that you have a purpose here to fulfill. It doesn't have to be monumental, it could be something really small, but we're all gifted with something in some capacity.
absolutely.
And you always hear people say, stay positive, like when they're dealing with illness or sickness or talking to somebody, like, stay positive, stay positive. Can you walk us through the difference between like toxic positivity wishes and like being like toxic positive and then actually having inner strength and making changes?
Well, like I make it a habit when I'm walking down the street to smile at a stranger, to offer a compliment, because you don't know what's going on in their mind at that particular time. Maybe they were going to end their life, and then when somebody reached out and offered them a compliment, you thought, well, maybe there's another chance. Maybe humanity isn't as bad as I made it out to be. Maybe I'll give myself a second chance. That's why I do the jokes, because it lowers cortisol, raises serotonin and dopamine, the feel good hormones in your brain, and laughter has been shown to promote longevity. So, again, for the very reason, when you're out and about with other people, whether it's at the store, at the coffee shop, walking your dogs, getting your hair cut at the doctor's office. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. And just one kind gesture, like, I really like my joke telling, showing gratitude, complimenting a person can really change a person's demeanor and think, well, maybe it's not that bad. And I've just been so centered on myself. Maybe I should really give it some second thought and reach out to friends that can maybe help me. Like uh, Robin Williams, he suffered silently, yet he was out there making everybody laugh. I mean, we're not all Robin Williams, but, look on the positive side of things, not the negative. Yes, we get the negatives, but the negatives are there to teach us a lesson. Maybe you're doing it incorrectly. Maybe you're impatient. Maybe you need a little bit more compassion. So, in anything we do, good or bad, there's always a lesson.
I totally agree. Um, where oftentimes we never know what's going on behind someone, right? What their
That's
mindset is,
That's right.
and we're often quick to prejudge others based on our own experiences, our own assumptions and things, without really understanding what they're going through, what they're doing. And like you said, just a comment, just a good morning, just a simple phrase, a joke can make somebody's day, um, which gets overlooked. And nowadays in our society, you go on for days, weeks, and you don't even know your neighbors.
That's right,
You know,
exactly. And so
and
I make it a practice too when I greet somebody in the morning, instead of the mundane, hi, how are you? Have a good day. Think of something more uplifting. I hope your day is filled with smiles on your face and joy in your heart. How is your day today and what are you looking forward to? Just add a little more personal note, not the mundane that everybody says, because it gives people food for thought and it puts them in a better frame of mind. It raises their frequency right at the start.
that's, uh, that's perfect. I love that. Love that.
And it really does make a difference when you're having a bad day and just things aren't going your way. And then, some random stranger compliments you or like gets in a conversation with you and the conversation goes somewhere where it needed to go to make, that difference in your day. It really does make a difference in somebody's day and it can totally change the trajectory of how that day was going to go.
That's right.
I
It
wanted
really,
to ask, uh, what were some of the hardest emotional or mental walls that you had to break through during your healing journey over the past 20 years?
um, I guess convincing people that your lifestyle habits can either invite health or invite disease. We're a fast food society and everything's quick and easy and frozen fast food stores, whatever. People aren't paying attention to what they're putting into their body. If you put good food into your body, you're going to reap results. If you water your plant and give it sunshine, the plant's going to grow. If not, it's going to wither and die. So, we're the same. We need to be nurtured and fed positive, good thoughts and nourishing food so we can ward off disease. It's the same thing with our pets. We don't ignore them and give them garbage to eat and let them forage on their own. We feed them and we nourish them and brush their coats and whatever so they stay healthy. So we're just as important as our pets, our neighbors or whatever. And offer suggestions to your family and friends if you see them slipping a little bit. Because we are reaching a cancer epidemic of incredible proportions coming up because you see the numbers rising daily, just astronomical. And it's lifestyle, and then on top of that, we're filled with so many toxins in our environment. And now on top of that is the microplastics. We consume the average of one credit card of plastic every week. So
Wow.
there's microplastics and nanoplastics. Nanoplastics are the smaller ones that go into your bloodstream. The microplastics just sort of float around.
Oh, I think we lost her
yep.
again.
Again, hopefully she'll come back. Here she is.
Just-
I didn't go away.
Okay. The last thing we heard was they just float around. And then I took a drink from my plastic Starbucks cup.
Yeah, no, actually, if I may comment, the plastic cup that you get at the coffee shop is the inside is covered in plastic and the lid is loaded with microplastics. And so when you just lift that little perforation to drink through the lid, the heat from the coffee, from the plastic in the cup, and from the lid, you are consuming mega microplastics. If you're a regular coffee drinker at the coffee shop, buy your own thermos and take it with you.
Luckily, I'm not. Most of the time, I drink 1 cup of coffee a day that I make myself. But today I did stop. I had to drop my boyfriend off at the dentist, and I did stop and get a coffee. So,
Yeah, so just for future reference, so you know.
ugh, that's not a good thought to be thinking. A credit card a week in plastic into your body is insane.
That's right.
Um,
And
you've
I've
said
heard,
you've talked about how healing just isn't physical. Can you give us an example of how you went through your journey and saw a physical result of the spiritual healing that you did, and then how that the spiritual and emotional turned into a physical result?
Well, I'm a heart math resilience coach as well. And heart math is the modality where you focus on the breathing of your body, inviting healing and warding off negativity. And, long story short, it raises the body's frequency, which is what you want to do. Because if we want to vibrate at 6 or 700 or above, that invites healing and happiness. And the negativity is what invites anger, rage, and our world is full of anger and rage. We're vibrating at a very low frequency. So, for heart math, are really quick um, breathing exercises. You close your eyes, put your hands on your heart if you want, or you're sitting and cut off in traffic or waiting at the doctor's appointment. Nobody has to know what you're doing. And so you breathe in one positive emotion and you breathe out another positive emotion. So you can do it as fast or as slow as you want. So I breathe in joy, I breathe out happiness, I breathe in community, I breathe out friendship, I breathe in resilience, I breathe out gratitude. Not as quickly, but just as a demonstration. And it just changes the frequency of your body, um, and it invites the parasympathetic uh, symptoms to be at optimum level in your body. So there's all sorts of, you know, really modalities out there, from the heart math, the meditation, the visualization, listening to high frequency music at night, the Schumann resonance. There's a lot of healing modalities to calm your mind, to lower your stress level, your anxiety level. And, there's a lot of healers out there that talk about that capacity, from Greg Braden um, to Sue Mortar to the Dalai Lama, the Buddhist traditions. There's a lot of inspiring people out there that will show you how to raise the frequency, lower the stress, and really focus on the positivity, because the world needs more positivity. Absolutely. We're in a world that's sinking, surrounded by negativity in every capacity. And so we can do our small little bit through joy, through kindness, through gratitude, through smiles, through compliments, through healthy eating, and sharing the information with another person, because like when you grieve, you don't know what the other person's going through. So it may be that one thing that is a lifesaver.
indeed, I've been listening to Bob Proctor talk about the law of vibration, um, and like you mentioned, all these things that are happening around us, that are on a different vibration, and what we need to do to stay above certain level of vibration. What daily habits uh, do you do
Well,
nowadays to help you stay at the vibration that you want to keep, and a positive and healthy?
before my feet touch the floor, I am grateful for three things. And I focus on three things I'm going to do today to bring a little bit of joy to people, whether it's three compliments, three cards, three telephone calls, three random acts of kindness. Excuse me. And then I get up and I look in the mirror with a self affirmation. I give myself a hug. I'm healthy, happy, healthy, whole, and complete. And also, I am a magnet for abundance, blessings, joy, and miracles. And then I have a list of affirmations that I also share. I do a quick meditation, just 5 minutes or so. And then I go about do my exercises, take my dogs for a walk, have a healthy breakfast, and I do a resilient joy boost video on LinkedIn and Facebook, and a cancer warrior also short video on the same platform. And then I go about either with clients or writing my newsletters or LinkedIn Live or meeting people, or sometimes just taking the day or the afternoon off to connect with friends and share some joy and some jokes.
Outstanding.
I want to jump back to what we were talking about a minute ago. Um, when you were going through this process, at what point did you find out that it was working? Were you going back for regular screenings? How did you find out that you were getting better and then ultimately that the cancer was gone?
It was a year later that I went back, and I was told that it was I was fine. Um, and I must say I was really scared to go, but I was going to continue doing what I was doing. And so when I went back and got the clear bill of health, I knew what I was doing was working. And so I continued to do my research and learn more about natural health and healing. And then I moved back to Ontario, and my friends were saying, raw food, what is that? Like I said before, the West Coast is progressive as compared to the middle of North America, or still is today. And everybody said, well, what's raw food? And so I started teaching about raw food, but then I sort of switched to plant based because in Ontario, just like New York or Chicago, when it's minus 20 degrees at night, or at night in the wintertime, you want a hot bowl of soup, not a raw bowl of soup. So, I sort of streamlined it to plant based. And then I started teaching classes because people had no idea. And so I was known primarily as the plant-based chef, and I taught classes at holistic centers and chiropractic offices, Canada's Paramount Holistic School of Nutrition, have helped many people along the way, many podcasts. So my go-to is not just the food, but the mindset. I feel is just so important now, given that my other life circumstances. Because you don't want to bounce back. You want to bounce forward with strength and kindness and the know withal and the mindset, and just be grateful for your daily steps every day, because they're building that resilience, and you don't know who you're going to inspire. Like, for example, several years ago, I lived in a high rise, and I would take my dogs for a walk across the street, and I befriended a young man from the Philippines standing on the corner having a cigarette. And he had come to look after his brother who was suffering from cancer, and he would take him to doctor's appointments and that. And so I would see him on the corner every 2 or 3 weeks, and we'd chat for a few minutes. And then one day he said that his brother had passed away, and would I come to the prayer circle at the funeral home in a couple of weeks? And I said, yes, for sure. So when I arrived at the funeral home, there were about 30 Filipino women sitting in the pews, all personal care workers. And I made my way up to my friend. He took me up to the casket to view the body. I had never met his brother. And he said that they were waiting for arrangements to take the body and the coffin back to the Philippines for burial so their mother could be there. We exchanged a few words. I left. About 3 weeks later, I'm walking down the street, and a young Filipino woman approaches me, and she says, were you at so and so's funeral prayer circle a few weeks ago? I said, yes, I was. She says, you have no idea how your presence impacted our community. It was a random act of kindness, of respect. And like I said, you never know what one small action can make a huge impact. Maybe just for one person, or maybe a whole lot.
Absolutely. That's something that it is oftentimes overlooked, right? The small little actions, as you mentioned, your own story, how impactful it can be for so many other people's.
Yeah,
The
it's the little things. It doesn't have to be the huge, magnificent, you know, newsworthy results. You know, for example, inevitably somebody will hold the door open for me, and it's usually somebody that's younger than me, whether it's going into a store or the bank or whatever. And I'll say, "Is your mother still alive?" And inevitably the person will say, "Yes, she is." And I'll say, "Well, tell her she's done a good job." So he smiles, and when he shares a story with his mother will smile. So just little acts, just, it doesn't have to be big.
Indeed.
Did you receive a lot of backlash or critiques for your decision and not seeking regular conventional medical care in this treatment?
I never listened to anybody. Nobody, I was committed. I was going to do it my way, and I guess in a sense because I was new to the community, I had just moved out west. I didn't really have many close friends, and I didn't really share a lot with my friends back east. So I just did it on my own, and the friends that I had made supported me on my journey.
How can someone facing a similar situation start, begin to rebuild from the inside out when everything around them feels like it's falling apart?
Well, if they're into visualizations, I would say, meditate and see if you can get some answers. Speak to people that have maybe gone through a similar journey and get their feedback. Or I would invite you to connect with me to have a chat, and maybe my resilience mentoring program is the answer for you. Because we're not one size fits all. Everybody is totally different. And, it's whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you're driven to. Don't forget what other people are saying to you. This is your body, it's your decision, and don't be swayed by others, but you definitely need a support system. So whether you reach out for support system in your area of challenge on social media, but you definitely need a mentor. You need somebody that will guide you, because people that are successful in, whether it's a golfer or a marathon runner or, an athlete training for something, what they teach first is resilience skills, and then the procedure, the tactic of what you do to excel in your chosen field. So it's the same thing with what challenge you're facing. You need somebody to guide you to get your mindset in that strong, positive frame of mind before you embark on your program.
Now, let's say you've been diagnosed with cancer for our listeners and they still want to do conventional medicine. Can they still reach out to you? Can they do both?
Yeah,
Or
you
is it one or
absolutely,
the other?
absolutely, yeah. Because what I would suggest is, things to augment and make your recovery um, quicker. And yeah, absolutely. I don't negate anybody or turn away anybody that's going the conventional. The two will work together.
When you were talking about the food that you put in your body, my personal experience is I'm celiac, so I can't have gluten. My body, I'm not allergic to it. I just can't break it down. I can't break down gluten. And the thing, and I'm fortunate there's a lot of gluten free options now in stores. However, if you look at the ingredients, there's so much more things that I can't even pronounce in, let's just say, a
Right.
cookie, for example.
That's right.
There's so much more stuff in that cookie than a regular cookie just to make it a cookie without having gluten in there. And I'm like, this, I don't even know what this stuff is. This is crazy. There's so much things in here. There's so many things in here.
Yeah, no, well, in my programs, I teach people how to identify those toxic ingredients. Whether it's in your food, in same thing in your supplements, in your skin skin toilet, your toiletries, your cleaning products. They're all loaded with toxins, so you have to learn how to identify them, and stay away from those products and find healthier alternatives, because they are out there. But it's yourself being educated.
Did you have a particular
Definitely.
mentor that guided you through this process?
No, I did it all on my own. I'm just sort of a strong disposition, and the sites I went to, like the EWG Marianne Williamson. I read all about, the importance of raw food. Back then it was Ocean Robin's dad. I can't think of his, a diet for a new America. So anything on raw food diet, I, got hold of it and really educated myself. So I did some research and then got the resources, educated myself, and then I took action.
For someone who may feel like they are alone in that journey today, you in your case, you started educating yourself. You went through the whole process alone, uh, and there are resources nowadays to provide, mentorship, to provide guidance in these situations. And you, in particular, you have the resources available for people that want to reach out and be able to connect with you, right? Uh, on top of that, are you still providing the recipes uh, as a chef for people that want to plug
Oh
into
yeah,
your training
absolutely. Yeah.
and to your
Yeah,
resources?
I don't just say, eat this kind of food. I'll give you recipes on how to prepare it. Easy, doable recipes, nothing really, complicated, because everybody can eat a healthy diet. You know, if you can follow a recipe in a traditional cookbook, you can follow my recipes. The ingredients may be just a little different, but the protocol is pretty much the same.
Yeah, outstanding. And there might be people that may question the natural healing or think it's a risky wave. How do you respond to any skepticism while staying grounded into your truth?
Well, why has the levels of cancer and heart disease and the like risen in the last century or so? Because we've adopted um, allopathic modalities, the drugs, the surgery that were not necessary nor heard of in the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th century. It's just modern technology. According to the Fetzer report that came out in 1917, they outlawed natural remedies, chiropractors, um, and the like, because big pharma had its grips, because the healing industry, the health industry, is a billion-dollar industry, trillion-dollar industry. So there's not money for them to be made with holistic modalities. So, just be educated. That's all I can say. What are the countries that are really healthy across the planet, like from Sardinia to uh, Japan and a few others? It's their diet, their lifestyle, their communities that they belong to. They don't have all the toxic sprays and the glyphosates, the roundups that we have in North America. It's about our lifestyle. We're sacrificing modernism for health. At what expense? People, the levels of cancer and heart disease and all these other diseases are skyrocketing, and it's unheard of in, countries like I said, like in India or Japan, or the third world countries, because they grow their own food, freshly prepared, eat eat natural food, strong community strength, and it's just a different lifestyle than what we're used to. Everything here is quick, easy, fast, on the run. That's why there's a
Yeah,
on the run, appropriate.
If someone's
I,
to reach out to you, let's say someone after the podcast reaches out to you and says, I can't talk. I've been diagnosed with cancer. I want to start this journey. What does that journey with you for them look like?
Well, I send you a questionnaire, personalized questionnaire, about 30 questions, to get a feel of what your lifestyle has been, what your dietary habits and everything is. Do you have mental, emotional support? And then from that, we streamline it to a customized program, focusing on a lot of the same basics, but may have to spend a little bit more time in other areas. So besides the diet, it's the water you drink. Is your room EMF free? The air that you breathe. Um, what kind of food do you eat, your parasites, your hair mineral analysis tests, because we all have toxins in our body accumulated based on lifestyle habits. Do you have silver amalgams? There's a whole bunch of different things that people don't think about because they have just accepted it as part of the norm, just as we did. So, I question you to really determine what your health status is, what your weaknesses are, what things have you been doing or not doing over.
Look like we're having some challenges with the signal here. Here we go again.
Yes,
Yeah, we
commercial break.
we have some signal there. If you can go back a little bit and rephrase that on the last sentence. So we lost you there.
Definitely a customized program based on your needs, what things you have been ignoring, what things you need to be addressed. And like I said, from the water you drink, the air you breathe, the living in an EMF room, at least one room. Are you addicted to your cell phone? Do you wear it on your body? Do you have silver amalgams? Have you had root canals? What toxins, cleaning products, toiletries do you use? Have you been on a parasite cleanse? There's all sorts of things because if you have pets, you garden, you use an ATM machine or pump your own gas, you have parasites. It's a given. Everybody has them. Not
And this
to
is
fear because they can be eliminated.
and this sounds more like a complete change in habits and lifestyle to live a healthier
That's right.
life overall, not just whether you were part of a being diagnosed with cancer or you're a survivor. It's really looking into changing the little things on your daily basis to live a healthy life moving forward. Is that right?
Yeah, it's all about living a healthy life forward. So that you don't invite any kind of disease, cancer, heart disease, or anything else.
Absolutely. And like you said, in today's society, all these little aspects are around us, are presented to us, and we're easily consuming them, bringing it into our life, and it's making the small changes to minimize the exposure to that
That's
environment.
right. It's all about education, self education or otherwise.
What is a myth that you would want to debunk? What is like the major myth that you would want to debunk for everyone, if you could?
Cancer is not a life sentence, or it's not a death sentence. Cancer can be overcome through lifestyle changes, healing from the inside out, one step at a time. And it starts with resilience and mindset.
Now,
That's a great one.
I know
I'm gonna have to
you
use
have a
that.
joke for us.
Okay, let me think here. Okay, let me see. A start of a new college year, and first assembly meeting, and the president standing at the front of the class, and he says, "Welcome everybody to our college. Your professors have been assigned. You've chosen your classes. You know who your roommates are. I just like to bring attention. There is one rule that cannot be broken. Only female residents in the female dormitory, only males in the male dormitory. Anybody caught breaking the rule, first time round, the fine is $50. Second time, it's $100. Third time, it's $200. A student stands up from the back and says, "How much for a season's pass?"
Hey, he asked the right question right away.
That's funny.
How long is the season?
That's
The
right.
whole semester?
The calendar year.
Oh man, that's a good one.
With your
That's
healing
good.
journey, I mean, this sounds really inspiring to know that you've accomplished so much while dealing not only with health conditions, but then also living conditions with being homeless. And now you're you're helping other people as well. Are you still going back for routine check-ins to make sure that the cancer's gone and stays away?
No, actually, I haven't because I just feel confident what I'm doing and I'm going to continue doing. And yeah, no, I haven't. It's been 25 years and I'm still here.
Yeah. Outstanding. That's such a beautiful story and journey that you came over and shared with us. We appreciate
Oh,
that.
my pleasure. Hope to have inspired some people.
Definitely, you definitely have inspired me. I can show you that. Um, it's all these little things, as you mentioned, that are consistently in front of us that we can make a difference on.
That's right.
That will make a difference in our life and will make a difference in somebody else's journey. And just being here, talking about it, being aware of it, that's one of the biggest things, awareness, being aware of
That's right.
the actions that we're doing, the things that we're consuming that will make a big impact.
That's right.
And in the show notes, I have added the links to contact you, but do you want to go ahead and on the air say what your website is, or do you want me just to leave it in the show
It's
notes?
it's just well, there's only one Alexi Bracey, so whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook, I'm easy to be found. And I
Now,
will
does
just
it have
All
to
right.
be cancer if they're dealing with other conditions? Are you available to do mentoring just like in general
absolutely,
wellness?
resilience mentoring is my other program, so it doesn't have to be, just for cancer. It could be heart disease. It could be, you know, um, diabetes or whatever.
Nice. Nice. Well, we'll share the information and
Oh, and now we lost Trace. I think we are having problems with our service today. There we go. And you're back. Everybody keeps taking individual commercial breaks.
that was me that went on a break.
Yeah, that was you. You were just like, so far. I'm the only one that hasn't experienced this because, like, before we got on the show, like you weren't even in the room with us. It's just me and Andres, and then you left. Andres is leaving, so I don't know where you guys are going. I've been in the room the whole time.
Always. We're here now. Well, it's been a great, great, great episode. Great information. And
Thank you.
Alexei, we appreciate you coming on board and sharing your story with us. I definitely see we can talk more about this on another episode
Yeah, for sure.
and dive
And so make sure
and
that
dive. Go ahead.
I know. I just like to say, make sure your day is filled with smiles on your face and joy in your heart.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. We definitely will.
My
I love
pleasure.
And I know you've made throughout this podcast, you will make a lot more people's days. So
Well, that is my intent to share and to empower.
absolutely.
And I think
Thank you.
it definitely is going to be the case. I know after sharing this podcast, I really hope that for the people that are going through a struggle, whether it's, spiritual, mental, or like their physical health, they know they have you as a resource to be able to reach out and get guidance there. And then also just that extra little touch of anybody can say something or do something nice to set off a whole chain reaction in numerous lives. Because if you say something nice to one person that was having a bad day, maybe that nice thing isn't going to go make them cuss out the, customer service counter person at the store that won't take their return. So it
That's
could be a
right.
chain reaction to make everybody's day better.
That's very true.
Any
Yes, it is.
last minute words before we go, guys?
No, that's it. Thank you. And just do something kind for someone. Smile at the next person you see. Offer them a compliment.
Definitely will every single day.
Yep. Andres,
Absolutely.
any
Thank
last
you.
minute things?
Just appreciate it of you being here, Alexi, and sharing your message. I'm really grateful. You've definitely made my days, and will continue to make other people's day through your message and and great energy that you brought in today. So I know I know you've made an impact in me and so many other people that will be listening to this. So thank you
Well,
again.
well, thank you for your kind words, and I hope so. So let's make it a great day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. And you guys can find her links to contact her in the show notes, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Just go to the show notes, click those links, and go over to her pages. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow, share for more, and never miss an episode of Real Talk. Bye, guys.